In 2018, well, I'm bad with this technology. John just bragged on me. In 2018, the Small College Basketball Alumni Association selected the first recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award. The award is presented each year to an individual who has demonstrated a continuous commitment to small college basketball, including measurable, lasting, and sustained leadership and service, as well as an impact on the game over a career or a lifetime. In my role as chair of the SCB Alumni Association, the committee and I, along with SCB founder John McCarthy, had the pleasure of studying the careers of several deserving nominees. Small College Basketball Lifetime Award 2019 is going to an individual who has spent an entire career in small college basketball. Larry Lady, as a 10-year-old youngster, came with his grandfather to the NAIA tournament here in Kansas City and fell in love with the game and the tournament. Larry continued on after going to the tournament many years in several roles in small college basketball. He was an official. He was a supervisor of officials. He was a tournament committee chairman, and he was the Heart of America Conference commissioner. So tonight, the Small College Basketball Alumni Association is proud to present the second Lifetime Achievement Award, our second year, to Larry Lady. So give a hand as we bring Larry Lady to the stage.
I first want to thank God for putting people in this room in my life. Without those people that God has put in my life, I wouldn't be standing here tonight. I also want to thank John, as everyone else has done, for his involvement in gaining and giving recognition to the small college coaches, players, and students in America. I worked with John on a committee in Kansas City to try to get an organization started to crown Kansas City as the basketball capital of the United States. We had several meetings. John directed them very well. That endeavor ended in the trash heap, but John didn't let it discourage him. That particular pursuit was all about money to the people of Kansas City. And John could not see his way clear to continue with something that had to be about money. That's when he began to develop this concept of small college basketball. So thank you, John, for your efforts. All the other people I know in this room appreciate those efforts that you have made. I also want to begin with introducing my family. Most of the 6 or 7 minutes that I'm supposed to talk is going to be talking about the people that are here tonight, my family. I have the great advantage of being local, so I could get all these people here, and I'm really grateful that they are here. So I want to start with the youngest of the group, my granddaughter Grace Moore, who will be attending a small college, Mid-America Nazarene, on an athletic scholarship as cheer. And I think we're all very proud. Her mother, her father, and her grandfather and grandmother are very proud. So Grace Moore is our youngest granddaughter, graduating from Heritage Christian Academy next week. Her parents are Reverend Raymond Moore and Kirsten Moore. And Kirsten is a house mother, home mother, and raised the two children. And I'll introduce the second child after I introduce the parents. Raymond Moore is a pastor of a local Nazarene church. Not the lead pastor, but on the staff as a pastor. And we're very proud of Kirsten and Raymond in that regard. Kirsten and Raymond's other son and grandson is Jason Moore, and he's here tonight with his soon-to-be Mrs. Jason Moore, but Melissa Smith. And we're just really pleased to have Melissa join us. She's already a part of the family, but she will be officially a part of the family on September 21. And then we have our other grandson, our youngest grandson, in fact, from the Denver, Colorado area, Parker, Colorado. I guess now he's in Highlands Ranch, Bradley Chalice. We're just so happy that he came out here to be with us tonight, representing his family, our daughter and son-in-law, who have a graduating senior from college at Grand Canyon University, Heather, who can't be here tonight either, and Austin Chalice, our oldest grandson, is in San Diego, California. He went to Point Loma Nazarene and is a graduate of Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego. So we've had representation from our entire family, and I'm so grateful for that. And then lastly, I have to introduce my wife, and I might get a little emotional because I probably haven't been as good a husband as I should have been a few times, but God always got me straightened out. And my wife has stood beside me. All these other people that I've introduced here, with the exception of Mindy, and I'm going to introduce Danny and Rosalie here in just a minute as a part of this brigade that's here. Danny and Rosalie Moore are the parents of Reverend Raymond Moore. And Danny and Rosalie and Carol and I have entered into a business relationship in a real estate venture. But more importantly than that, Danny and Raymond both watched me officiate in the national tournament. So this NAIA and small college basketball has given me a wonderful son-in-law and a wonderful family friend who has become a part of our family, Danny and Rosalie Moore. My wife has stood by me through thick and thin. None of these people, except for Mindy, Danny, and Rosalie, would be alive here tonight if it hadn't been Carol Jean Hawks agreed to marry me in 1962. So we'll be celebrating our 59th anniversary as my first wife come June 17th. I think that's correct. So thank you, honey, for allowing me to be involved in this small college atmosphere in the NAIA. Then I want to thank all of the coaches that I've been privileged to work around. I worked with or for some of the coaches, Larry Holly being one, and several of you in this room, I either officiated for your team in the national tournament or was the coordinator of officials or tournament committee member for some of you that have worked or had your teams in the national tournament. Coaches really taught me and gave me a new definition for and helped me develop my skill of listening. I already had the skill of hearing, but because I heard everything they said. I ignored it in most cases, but they taught me the skill of listening because I think to be a successful official, you have to listen to coaches. You have to be approachable. So I want to thank them for giving me, teaching me, and giving me an opportunity to develop that skill. Larry Holly, and you heard his presentation, his introduction about what he has done for everybody. My oldest grandson, when he was 6 years old, his dad was coaching his team. And his dad didn't know much of anything about basketball. He knew a lot about football, but he didn't know much about basketball. He knew I had coached for 4 years, and I still didn't know very much about basketball, I think, at that time. So I gave Larry Holly a call and asked him if he would put together a set of diagrams to give to my son-in-law, Austin Chalice, my oldest grandson, and Brad Chalice also played by these, coached by his dad. So Larry Holly had a great impression on my family in Colorado with just that little bit of coaching diagrams of plays that they could teach my 6 or 7 year old grandson as he got started playing basketball. I've been forever grateful to Larry for that. I also had, I could name 500 coaches that have an impression and had some events that were rather funny, and I got a big kick out of them. Bob Burchard coached in the era, and some of you older coaches are going to remember the seatbelt rule that was put in after we had so much trouble with coaches getting on the referees and fans and that sort of thing. And I was officiating a game at Missouri Western when the head coach had been hospitalized with physical ailment, and Bob was taking over as the assistant coach, becoming the head coach. And I laughed heartily when I walked on the floor and saw, I think it was maybe a child seat, I'm not sure, but it had a seat belt on it. And they made Bob start sitting on that bench in that seat belt. So he couldn't get up and get a technical foul because it was automatic if they got up and complained. So that's a little incident that happened between myself and coaches. Another name that you'll recall is Ron Slaymaker, who was at Emporia State University for years and years and years. Ron and I were very good friends over the years. He's the one that got me nominated to work in the NAI National Tournament. And he and I coached against each other when I was at Madison, Kansas, a little 1A school, and he was at Roosevelt Lab School at Emporia State University. When Ron retired from coaching at Emporia State, he decided to go into officiating. So I called him immediately. I said, Ron, you're making a wise decision. You've had a lot of experience officiating all of the basketball games that you've coached. And he took that as a compliment, because he was one that was always get on you, but when it was over, it was over. He invited me one time to come up to the room afterward and look at the tape to see how many calls I had missed. I didn't do that, obviously. So anyway, those are just some little events that happened in my life, and I have to give great appreciation and thanks to all of those coaches. I didn't ever officiate a game that Ben coached, but I've observed games that he's coached in the MIAA, and I couldn't express how good he was to officials. He would get on them a little bit, but whenever he did, you were pretty sure he was probably right, and the officials knew that. So thank you for that, Ben. Then the last coach that I'll mention is just made a comment today to me that I thought was hilarious, but it was really right on. And an award has been named after Harry Statham. But as we were walking into Municipal Auditorium today, he turned around and saw me there, and he said, you know something I never really understood. All the time those officials were out there making those calls, he said, I didn't pay much attention to them. But he said, after the game, they went and showered, our team went and showered. I'd come back and I'd see them walking out of the arena with glasses on. And he said, I always wondered and thought, why in the world didn't they wear those during the game? I thought that was a great comment that Harry made, and I'm so appreciative for all the comments the coaches have made over the years to me as an official, as a supervisor, and everything that's happened to me in small college basketball has been a fantastically God-sent kind of a relationship that I've had with these coaches. Thanks again, John, and thank you very much for being here.
Please welcome back to the stage John McCarthy.
So before we jump into the next part, the Harry Statham Coach of Impact Award, I just want to share something about Larry Lady that many people don't know, and frankly, I didn't know until this year. Several years ago, well, let me back up. Larry has been to the NAI tournament in one capacity or another. I think it's either 5 or 6 different capacities for approximately 68 consecutive years. I mean, think about that for a moment. 68 consecutive years going to the tournament. However, in perfectly good health, he decided several years ago to go to Denver during the tournament, which was highly unusual, clearly, after 68 consecutive years in the tournament. And later I found out why. If we back up a little bit, Buck and Betty Farmer had held the streak, I believe, for the longest consecutive times going to the tournament. And Betty passed away roughly 4 or 5 years ago. At this point now, it's been, I believe, about 2 to 3 years ago that Buck passed away. And before Buck passed away, Larry told Buck that he won't pass his streak. And Buck made the comment that, well, it sure looks like you'll pass my streak. I'm not going to make it much longer. I'm in my 90s at this point. And Larry said, I won't pass your streak. So Buck passed away, and Larry went to Denver, so that Buck and Betty Farmer still have the longest consecutive streak. I thought that was one of the most noble things that I have heard. So, Larry, I'm just incredibly impressed with the humbleness with that gesture.